at the side of the rubric. So one, if you lose your rubric, this rubric, it says on the top of the side that says rubric, right, let me make sure this is the honors one, right here, it says that you're going to have an option of a paper or a digital project, but either way, you must turn this paper rubric in, okay, not online, the actual paper, the hard copy in your hands, you're going to turn in because this is what I'm going to write on when I'm grading your project, okay? So don't lose this rubric. If perhaps you do, okay, on our calendar here, or you can go to assignments to get to it as well. If you click on the transversal project, it's going to take you to the assignment, and I have a PDF, a digital copy of that here. Okay, so the rubric is here, as well as the examples and inspo that I'm going to go over with y'all, and a template for roads if you want to use it, that's here, and this website that I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, so all of that is linked here on the assignment page itself, okay, as well as screenshots here of the instructions in rubric and some of the other stuff. And this is where, if you're doing a digital version, you would come here to the assignment, and this is where you're going to upload your digital project. Okay. All right, so back to the instructions, though. There's Quinn. Here we go. All right, so on the instruction side, okay, I'm not going to read word for word, but you are planning a themed city, okay? So when I say a themed city, we'll talk about themes in a second. You get to pick your theme. I'll give you some ideas, and you can ask specific questions later if you have ideas, okay? But these are the required locations in your city, okay? To answer a couple of things that have been common questions today, a big box store, if you don't know what that is something like a Costco or Sam's or Walmart or Target, okay? That's a big box, like they're a big store that sells lots of different stuff, okay? Your entertainment venue, I did put this, but it could be a movie theater, it could be a bowling alley, an arcade, okay, it could be like a combination, like a main event or something, okay, that's an entertainment. You get to pick an entertainment venue of some sort, okay, your park or recreation area, that you have some leeway here. I'm leaving it broad so y'all can kind of be creative. You can have an actual park with a playground, like a kid's playground. You could have a park that's just like walking trails and benches. You could have a recreation center. It could be ball fields, whether that's soccer or baseball fields or basketball courts or something, you know, kind of like you could have like a hometown heroes type, or over there, what's that, the sportsplex, whatever. That's a recreation area. So some sort of park or recreation area of your choice. The rest of this, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. I think those are the only ones people had some questions about. Your restaurant or diner can be anything you want it to be. Okay, you can pick a specific one. You can make up fictional ones. That's fine. Okay, now, when we get into it, it says these guidelines must be followed. Okay, it's not just making a city with all of this stuff however you want. You have to follow these guidelines that are listed. Okay, you can only have at each angle formed at intersections of roads, you can only have one building at each angle. Okay, so an intersection creates 4 corners, right? So if there's 4 corners, 4 angles, you can only have 4 buildings at that intersection. You can't have 2 buildings together in one corner. Okay, so make sure that you're following that. You're going to be graded on the content, creativity, and accuracy. Okay, I would highly recommend you do a sketch, like a draft version, before you do your final product. Okay, make sure you're using a pencil. You're going to mess up and have to change or move things, and that's okay. Okay, the final product can be on paper or it can be digital. Whatever version or medium you choose to use. Okay, if you're doing digital, you could do Canva, Word, PowerPoint, Publisher. Maybe your parent's an architect and they have some cool program on your home laptop or home computer that you want to use. That's fine too. But if you're doing a digital, project, you have to save it as a PDF. I just need a PDF uploaded into Canvas because I need to be able to open it. So I have to have the program and I don't want things to get shifted or moved around. So whatever version or application you use, save it as a PDF to upload. Okay. Canvas is not going to let you upload anything but a PDF. So you'll get a reminder. You'll be like, you can't upload that. Okay. But I'm telling you now, it's got to be saved as a PDF, whatever you use to create it. If you're doing it on paper, the size of the paper doesn't matter to me, except the minimum. It's got to be at least an 8.5 by 11, a normal like piece of printer paper. Okay, it can be cardstock if you prefer something sturdier. If you want a bigger piece of paper, okay, like a legal size paper or like a quarter poster board or a full poster board, whatever you want to do, that's cool. As long as it's at least an 8.5 by 11. Okay, I don't want it too tiny. I have old eyes. When you're doing it on paper, you can hand draw things. If you're real artistic, you can draw or paint, however you want to do. You can cut out pictures from magazines and newspapers or things that you print from online, or even your own photos. You could go around town and take photos of places you want to use and then print those photos. Or you could take those photos and then digitally clip them and put them in your digital version. That's fine too. So if you're a photographer and you want to use your own photos, go for it. That's cool. Okay. So these, you get to have some leeway with how you create this. Okay. Now your guidelines, there's 13. Yeah, there's 13 listed here. And I put little lines next to it so you can check them off as you do them or when you're going through and making sure you have everything you're supposed to. This side of the paper, this instruction side, you can mark all over this. Highlight, mark out, circle, check, whatever you want to do to make sure you're including everything you're supposed to. Okay. The first thing is you've got to pick your theme and name your town. Okay. Those are points on the assignment. All of your streets have to be named and in theme with whatever theme you chose. Okay. Your buildings have to be labeled. Now, if you want to be basic and just label your buildings, post office, school, and not actually name them, that's fine, as long as everything else on there, like the street names, are in theme and like how you decorate it or color it or whatever. You want your theme to be clear. But most people are going to name their buildings in their theme. The minimum number of roads is 4, and that is 3 parallel. So you have to have 3 that are all parallel to each other, 3 lines. Okay. And then 1 transversal going through all of those. That's the minimum. You may need to, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to add more. You're going to have to add at least 1 more road, but whether or not what it's parallel to, or if it's parallel to anything at all, or where it's located, that's up to you. Okay. But the minimum is 3 parallel roads with a transversal going through all 3. Okay. That will create 12 angles. Okay, so here is the template that I'm including that has 3 parallel roads and 1 transversal. You do not have to use this. You can adjust this if you want to move things around or change the angle that it's at. It's a Word document, so you can mess around with it. Okay, you can add roads. When I say add roads, okay, so if I'm in Word, or I think it will work the same in Canva, when you go to insert a line, okay, you can put it wherever you want. So if I put it over here to make all these like dead end roads, okay, you can change the color, you can change the thickness of it to make it all work. And then you can add other roads elsewhere. Okay, so you could add a road like this, or if you want it to be parallel to your transversal, you can make it parallel to your transversal. Okay, so you have some more intersections like that. You could make it little. You could make it only connect between 2 of the roads, something like that. That's fine too, because you've just created 1, 2, 3, 4 more corners, haven't you? Even with that little road. So you add the roads where you want the roads. I don't care where they are, but they have to be at least 3 parallel with 1 transversal. Okay, the additional are up to you. Do the roads make sense? Okay, so then once you have your roads, and you may have to add roads later on as you get through some of these and realize you need another intersection. You can add roads later. But these tell you the relationships between the locations. So the gas station and grocery store, for instance, have to be adjacent to each other. Okay. The park and the bank have to be corresponding intersections. Okay. So read through 3 through 10 are those relationship requirements for the angles. So all of those required buildings have to be at a corner of an intersection. Okay. Then the rest of these after number 10, this is like the additional things that you have to include, at least 5 traffic lights, stop signs, emergency signs, etc. for safety. That is not 5 traffic lights, 5 stop signs, and 5 emergency signs. It's a combination of whatever you want, 5 minimum. Okay. 5 additional locations to what was required. So you have the bulleted points up here that are required. You add 5 more. Those 5 are option, like you have options. Okay. I listed some examples, like you could put a pet store or a hotel or a church or apartment complex, a coffee house, a water tower, whatever. But you need 5 additional locations on your map, and they need to be labeled as well. These 5, though, there's no requirement or stipulation on where they go. So they don't even have to be at an intersection. So on that template where you have like a straightaway road, there's no intersection right here. You could put that over here if you wanted to. Okay, it doesn't have to be at an intersection, those extras. Okay, they can like fill in the gaps around your city. And then you have to add at least 5 things that will beautify your city. That would be things like some sort of water. Maybe there's a pond or a river or something. Maybe there's gardens. You can add trees or shrubs. You could put sculptures or monuments, or like I think I said fountain already. Bike paths, things like that. Okay, so 5 beautification features, 5 location features, and 5 signs or lights. Everybody good with that? Now, if you flip over to how you are graded, this is what you want to know, I'm sure. All of that is listed here again, and it tells you how many points everything is worth. And then at the bottom, you may notice that you have some bonus chance, some opportunity for bonus points. Okay, so that you can get up to a 110 on this. Okay, 5 points for turning it in by Tuesday instead of waiting till Thursday. Okay, and up to 5 points for additional items that were not required on the front. Okay, so adding even more extra, it's a point per extra item. Does that make sense? Okay, it is a triple daily grade. This is more than a quiz, is a double daily grade. Okay, so it's not a test, it's not a major grade. It is in the daily grade category, but it's triple. It's going to count a lot. It can help your grade, it can hurt your grade, depending on if you get it done on time and how accurate and complete it is. Okay, so Tuesday, October 7th is what I'm setting as the due date. And that's, if you get it in by then, that's how you get the bonus points. Okay, I will take it through Thursday. That's technically going to be called late, but I'm not going to take off any penalty, without penalty. Okay, so you can still get up to 105 if you turn it in by Thursday. You just don't get those 5 early bird points. Make sense? And the reason I had to set that to Tuesday instead of Thursday is because I technically have to accept things up to 2 days late. So the official due date is Tuesday. I'll accept it late up to Thursday, but I'm not going to take late points off. Okay? Yes.
I have like a work day.
Yes. So let's look at the calendar, back to the canvas. You can see you have today, brainstorm, plan out, get started. You have tomorrow. I'm out for a meeting tomorrow, but you have the day to work on your project. And then Monday. If you finish tomorrow, or if you finish over the weekend, then Monday just becomes an extra review day for you. Okay, I'm going to hand out the review today. So Monday and Tuesday are review / project days. I'm going to be going over review questions for sure on Tuesday. So I'm not going to be like helping you or going over project stuff, but if you want to sit there quietly and work on your project that day, you can. That's up to you. Okay, so there's our calendar. We're getting it, starting it today, due Tuesday for the extra credit points, or by Thursday for no extra credit points. Okay. Now, on your Canvas, if you click here where it says project, I showed you can find the rubric. You can find that template that I was just showing you of the roads if you want to use it, or you can create your whole own road system. You can find this in, it says ideas, examples, and inspo. That's what I'm going to show you next. So when you are doing this, yours can be real creative and fancy. It can be real basic and still get 100. Okay. As long as you meet, you can see right here where your points are coming from. As long as you have done these things, you're going to get the points. Okay. But here is that item that shows some different ideas. These are not this specific project rubric. Like these buildings aren't where they should be. This is just an idea of, so you can see what things might look like. If I were to hand draw on paper, this is about what mine would probably look like. Kind of, I am not artistic, so mine would look like real basic sketches and coloring. Okay, it'd probably look kind of like this. Okay, some people are really good artists, and if you want to show that off and use that, and this is a hand-drawn city, it looks three-dimensional, and this is just done by drawing and like coloring. So that's really awesome too. Okay, some people may do something like this, where it's a bird's eye view. It doesn't have to look three-dimensional like this. You don't have to have the fronts of all the buildings like this. You could just have a bird's eye view of your city road map. And you can see they colored in and added the beautification stuff like trees and a pond. There's the traffic lights. But then the buildings are just these blue shapes just plopped in there and they're labeled. Okay. And where they're supposed to be. Okay. Or it may look something like this with your hand-drawn roads, and they did their buildings just as different shapes. Okay. And it's labeled really clearly, which is good. Okay. So those are some hand-drawn examples. But again, even if it's on paper, it doesn't have to be drawn. You can cut out pictures and glue them down if you want to. Okay. Some digital examples. Here's kind of one where they found like stock images or clip art, I guess, and created this city map. And instead of labeling, the streets are labeled, but instead of labeling all the buildings, they made a key or a legend. That's fine too, as long as it's there and I can tell what everything is. Okay. Here on the left is a real basic one. Let's say you're like, oh, heck no, I'm not spending my time doing this, or I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to work in Canva or add images. Just do shapes, do squares, rectangles for all your buildings and add labels. As long as you're meeting the requirements on the rubric, that's acceptable. Nothing on there says you have to color it, right? So that's okay too. Here's one that used, instead of actually drawing roads, they just used lines. Okay, you can do that. You can just draw intersecting lines for your roads to make your grid, and then plop in images of where things need to be, and then make sure you label it. Okay. Here's one I saw online that somebody was using Desmos that I don't know if I recommend this. It seems like it might be kind of complicated, but it looks kind of cool. They put in equations to graph lines to make the roads, and then they plotted points and labeled them to make the locations. So that's an option if you want to try it. Here's one just done on graph paper. Okay, either this one looks digital, but you could do it on paper, graph paper as well, where you just draw your lines and like shade in what go and label what goes there. Okay, can be pretty basic like this. Or you could get super fancy and do like three-dimensional, either graphic, if you have some cool program where you can make a 3D city on your computer. This one isn't labeled very well, but you could add labels, or an actual 3D one made out of like cardboard and paper. Okay, whatever it is you want to do. The reason I don't expect anybody to do 3D model, but I liked that. I wanted to show you in terms of theme. This was called Angleton, and they've got Scalene School and Hexagonal Hospital and I don't know, what does that say? Firehouse Fraction or something like that. So it's like kind of math themed. So that's what I mean when I say a theme. Everything is named in your theme, and the name of the town is in theme. Okay, so I put some inspiration for themes. And actually, before I get to that, there was one more example I wanted to show you. Here's one where things weren't drawn, where they went and found pictures online and like clipped pictures and plopped them into like a Word document. That's an option too. Okay, as long as you put things on the correct corners where they go, and you can insert your streets however you want them. So it could look something like this with pictures, real pictures as well. Okay, now I do want to show you, before I get to the inspo, some tips on inserting and arranging things in Word. And I think Canva is pretty similar. If I go to insert an image, so if I go to look at the stock images and I want to insert a building, okay, I find a building that I want to use. Let's say I use this one. Okay, it inserts it at whatever random size it does. You're going to be able to resize it, but you always want to click this little icon here, the layout options, and you want to select this one that says behind text. And it'll put it behind everything, so it's not going to go over the roads. Now, you could do in front, and it would let you move it around wherever you want as well. But if there's an outline, sometimes the images have like a white outline around them. And if you do on top, that white outline might cover your road. So that's why I do behind text. And then you could move this to whatever corner you wanted it on. Okay, so let's say I was going to put this here, and then I could go and I could insert, oh, and you can rotate. So if you want to draw it have it at an angle, you can put it at an angle, however it is you want to do that. Okay, but then you can insert a text box to type wherever you want on the screen. So a plain text box, and I'm just going to call this my City Hall. And you can adjust your font and size and everything just like normal in your text box. But then if you want to move that, you're going to, again, need to put in front or behind text, okay? And then when I go to move that, if I want it on top, but not to cover my picture, and I can go right click and go to look at my format shape, and I can get rid of the fill, and I can get rid of that outline. So no line, no fill. You can resize it, and now I can either have it right there by it, or I could put it on top of the picture like that. Does that make sense? And you can rotate your words as well. So if you wanted it at an angle, you could do it at an angle. Be like, there's my City Hall. Okay. So text box, okay, and no fill, no outline, and put it in front of images. And then for your actual pictures, put them behind text and resize, and you can shift them and rotate those around. Does everybody feel okay about how to manipulate in Word? And I think it's the same in all the Microsoft stuff. So if you're using Publisher or PowerPoint, that should work the same way too. And I think y'all are probably more experienced with Canva than I am. So, all right. All right, if there's no questions about that, here is my inspo for themes. Okay, I put an extensive list. This is not all encompassing. You do not have to pick something from this list. You can come up with your own. But the reason I wanted to show this is so that you understand your theme can be very broad. So my theme could just be math in general, or I could get real specific and say shapes. Or my theme could be Disney in general, or I could get real specific and say Toy Story themed, or I could say sports in general, or I could say baseball or MLB, or I could go specific with Astros, and I could have Altuve Avenue and Jordan Way and whatever else I wanted. Okay, so here's a bunch of different ideas. It can be like books, movies, shows, games, foods, like sweets and dessert. It'd be like Candyland, right? Like the game, everything could be different candy. Okay, whatever you want your theme to be. Okay, animals, nature, whatever. Okay, so lots of options. Pick a theme, get creative, have fun with it. All right, I'm going to stop the video and come around and answer y'all's individual questions. Okay, I've got plain computer paper you can use for like sketching ideas.